You're listening to JetNation Radio, the official podcast of JetNation.com, the largest independent fan site in the NFL. Be sure to check out our forums and talk all things Jets with thousands of other diehard Jets fans. Now, to get you up to date on all the latest Jets news, notes, and quotes, here are your hosts, Glenn Naughton and Alex Varallo.
Good evening, Jets fans. I am Glenn Naughton. This is JetNation Radio. Thank you so much for tuning in, as always. Much appreciated. Exciting show tonight. I'm really pumped about this one. We've been trying to put this one together for a little while. We started last night. More blog talk issues. We only did about 15 minutes, though, so we didn't lose too much. Going to give it a shot again tonight. Tonight we're having Paul Alexander is going to be our guest. He's a former offensive line coach, spent 23 years with the Cincinnati Bengals. Did a year with the Jets, did a year or two with the Cowboys, has since retired, but still does a little bit of consulting stuff, still works with prospects, talks to teams, and he's a guy who's described by Sports Illustrated just, 4 or 5 years ago. Was on the cover of Sports Illustrated as sort of their dream team of coaches. He's been featured in several magazines as one of the top guys in his profession, and he did it for 20-plus years. And the reason we wanted to have Paul on is because, let's face it, this is the number one pressing thing for the Jets this offseason, or in this upcoming draft, is the offensive line. I know some people say receiver, which, of course, they do have to address receiver position. But this has to be about, building this wall for Sam Darnold. And I actually sent out a tweet earlier today. So I sent out a tweet kind of dripping with sarcasm, saying that I was, if you listen to the show, you know that I've said many times before that the need for a stud receiver can be somewhat overblown at times. And I just sent out a tweet just joking around, naming a bunch of guys, elite Pro Bowl, future Hall of Fame receivers who weren't taken in the first round. And I sarcastically said, these guys are proof that you've got to get a receiver in round one. And I couldn't believe the number of people that thought I was dead serious and were playing gotcha with, none of these guys were even taken in the first round. What are you talking about? But this year, there's debate between Jets fans. Do they go O-line? Do they go receiver? To me, the answer is clear. It's got to be O-line. There are, we talked about it before, there are up to 30 receivers in this class that talent evaluators consider starting caliber players. And I can tell you right now, there are not 30 starting tackles. And that's where the Jets need to address. But, again, we just talked about Paul Alexander, and he's going to join us now. Paul, are you with us?
Yeah. How you doing?
I'm doing great. My apologies for yesterday evening. We've had some bumps in the road here with Blog Talk, and I think it's been a while since we've had that issue. But you were talking, and I was hearing you, but for whatever reason, you weren't getting me. But now we're back, so we'll give this another go, and we'll pretty much. We'll start over from what we did last night. You did a great job. I really enjoyed it. Go ahead and break down the tackles for us, because again, this is in my mind and in the minds of many Jets fans, it's the number one need for this team. Sam Darnold's safety has to be the priority. He has shown that when he has time in the pocket, he can deliver and win football games. But the rate at which he had pressure last year, I believe, was worse than the NFL over the last 7 or 8 games. It was just a complete disaster. So this needs to get fixed. And it needs to start with a tackle. So run us through as a guy who's got, again, 25-plus years, 30-plus years coaching experience overall when we include your time in the NFL and college. Go through these tackles and tell us who you like, why you like them, and who you think might be the best fit for a team like the Jets, where the emphasis looks to be on getting these agile, these guys who can move around well, and who, because, they're saying Adam Gase is going to have these really wide splits. He wants to spread his offensive linemen out this year. And so that's why they signed George Fant from the Seahawks, because his agility numbers are on par with Tristan Wirfs. So how do they line up for you, and who do you like as a fit with the Jets?
Yeah, well, I was listening to you talk, waiting to get on, and you were going over the discussion. Should they go tackle or should they go receiver in the first round? Historically, when you look at it, more starting tackles in the NFL were first-round picks than receivers. It's kind of more of a premier position in terms of investment capital in your draft. So to me, if you take receiver in the first and wait till the second, there might be a starting tackle there. All right. I think this is a very well-endowed draft of offensive tackles and guards and centers, actually. It's an excellent year for offensive linemen. But the top guys, there's 4 guys that I think are going to go in the top half of the first round. And then there's 4 guys that are going to go at the end of the first or early in the second round. Now, you can take a flyer and hope that one of those 8 guys would be there at the 11th pick, I think the Jets have?
The Jets are at 11, and then their second rounder is number 48.
Their second round's 48. Well, they're not going to get they're not going to get a tackle in the second round.
That's been my feeling.
I mean, there's a chance, obviously. There's always a chance. Anything can happen. But here it is. There's 4 guys, right? It's kind of like, and then there were 4. That's a discussion of these 4 tackles. And all 4 of these offensive tackles, in my estimation, are worthy of the top half of the first-round grade in any year. That's their worth. That's their value. I've broken them down. I've graded them on film, and I give them a numeric grade, the same grade I used to give after 27 years coaching in the NFL, of where that guy would be on a normal draft. And all 4 of these guys I've given grades to, and all 4 of them, the grades are very similar. So, in my opinion, you have to move up to get the guy you want. I wouldn't, because I think there's 4 guys there. That all 4 of them are good players. And this is the order I got. All right, the top 4. Andrew Thomas, Georgia. I got him first. And I will say I worked with him. I've trained him. I worked with him last off season. So I have to throw that out just so that you know that I worked with the guy and I'm not just pushing my guy.
Right. Full disclosure.
That's who I have. I have Andrew Thomas first. He's from Georgia. He has ideal size, length, 36-inch arms, which is rare. So he has a rare body. He has rare athletic traits. All right. No, I'd say he has good athletic traits in terms of speed, agility, jump, all that kind of stuff. But what he does have rare is he has rare productivity. Pro Football Focus grades all these guys, and they graded Andrew Thomas of the draft tackles as the highest, most productive grader in the nation this year. All right, so here you go. You got a guy with rare physical size and good ability and rare production in the Southeast Conference. I say he's the best. I mean, he's the safest pick. He's athletic. He can move. To me, he's the first one that goes. The next one, in my mind, is from Alabama, Jojo Quills. Right? Jojo Quills played right tackle at Alabama. He certainly can play left tackle. He's athletic. He's quick. He's tough. He finishes. He's a very inspiring player. He looks NFL ready to me in terms of technique. His line coach, Kyle Flood, who I know very well, says he's the best offensive lineman he's seen ready to play NFL football tomorrow. So Jedrick Wills goes in right away at right tackle and starts. I would do that and probably move him to left at some point after he knew the game. The only concern on Jedrick Wills is he's only 6'4". You'd like a tackle at least 6'5". You'd like a tackle 6'6", to be honest with you. And he ran well at the combine, and he had long enough arms. So I think Jedrick Wills is next. He's an athletic, quick guy. The third guy, all right, and some have him first, and everyone has all these 4 guys in a different order. Everyone goes these 4, but everyone's got these 4. There is no fifth, and there is no 3. And then there were 4. Right? Everyone has these same 4 guys in different ranking orders. And some people have Tristan Wirfs after the combine from Iowa, number 1. Before the combine, if you go back in time, before the combine, Tristan Wirfs, Iowa, was, highly rated, but everyone had him as, left tackle, okay, but he's probably a guard. And then you go, whoa, why is he a guard? And you see it on the film. Early in the season, he has some trouble with production. Doesn't use his hands properly. You have to go back. If you take Tristan Wirfs, you have to, in your mind, define why he looked poor early in the year. Particularly watch the Michigan game. All right? You'll have to say, he gave up pressures. This guy beat him on double moves, on run and pass. He took poor angles. What happened on all that? Well, when you watch him at the end of the year, and you see him play at the end of the year, he made a drastic change from good coaching and good analysis on his own. I don't know which it was, but he changed the technique and the use of his hands. So what is Tristan Wirfs? Is he the best guy? Is he the last guy? Is he a guard? Is he a tackle? In my analysis, I think, yes, he's a left tackle, all right? Right tackle he played, but yes, he can play left tackle. And why do I discount what happened to him early in the season? Well, I'm going to partially discount it on my feeling that he's corrected his technique errors, all right? And but that's not a complete given. That's why I don't have him first, and that's why I don't have him as a guard. So that's Tristan Wirfs, Iowa. The fourth guy, all right, which many say is first, I say he's fourth, is Mekhi Becton at Louisville. This guy is a monster. I don't know anyone playing that's as big as he is. Okay, is that good? Well, typically I don't like to draft outliers. Outliers make me nervous. Whether they're excessively big or excessively small. Erin Gibson, if you remember him from Wisconsin, was a sure can't-miss tackle. He was extremely large. He was rare flexibility. He was a monster. He was a bust by the New York Giants. All right? He couldn't move quick enough. All right? Now, Mekhi Becton, okay, he's a monster, but he runs fast. You say, my God, he runs 5'1". All right? But this is what I see on film with him. I see a massive man, but everything's too long. His strides are too long. His punch is too long. He's going to have trouble versus elite rushers until he learns to tighten everything down. Do I think he can do it? Yes, I think he can do it. All right? I had concerns with Erin Gibson coming out. I don't have the same concerns with Becton other than I think he's a little slow to recover in terms of agility. That's a concern. So that's the order that I have them, all right? I like them all. I think they're all starting tackles. I think they're all worthy the top half of the first-round picks. And once again, I go Thomas, Georgia, Wills, Alabama, Wirfs, Iowa, and then Becton, Louisville.
And now what is it when you
certainly get one of those four?
Yeah, I really like their chances, especially with all the talk about teams that might want to move up and grab a quarterback. But my question about that is in regard to Wills, what is it specifically that you see? Because you sound really sure of yourself that he can make that transition to left tackle. That seems to be the number one thing that people knock, just in terms of saying, well, positional value, we don't know if he can move to the left side, and being a right tackle, he's not protecting the blind side. And some people, for that reason, don't even want him. They say, we have to get somebody who knows how to play the left side. Now, the Jets signed George Fant, who might be able to, a guy who can hold the fort while Wills comes along. But is there something specific about his game? Is there something specific
George
about
Fant
his game that you see and say he can make that move?
George Fant, you're saying might hold the fort. I say George Fant, hold your breath.
Really? Oh boy!
George Fant and Jedrick Wills are not even a comparison in my mind.
Well, I was trying to be generous and say hold the fort because I do have my concerns, but I guess not a big.
In fact, I don't know what the Jets were doing in free agency. I looked at their free agency. I go, my God, you got to be kidding me! You got a bunch of backups.
That's the concern. It feels like they what they had was so bad last year that they felt like if we can go on the cheap and just add a bunch of guys on essentially 1-year deals. You know, we're seeing these 3-year deal, 4-year deal, and there are really guys that can be let go after a season. But what worries me about Fant is that he played at a team that has, you know, for the last 5, 6, 7 years, we always say Russell Wilson should win the MVP because nobody blocks for him, and Fant couldn't win a starting job there, and Seattle let him walk. So that was a kind of a red flag for me. But so beyond those guys, first with Wills, what is it specifically that makes you so confident he can transition? And then who are your next tackles behind the top 4?
Yeah, well, it's going to depend on the team. Some teams, he's going to be hurt because there's really no chance for people to go work him out and say, okay, come on over here and do these drills on the left and see how you look. Because some guys look natural doing it. Okay, yeah, I'll go over on the left and do it. And other guys, they just can't do it for whatever reason. To me, I find it confusing because I'm kind of an ambidextrous guy myself. I used to switch it in baseball. No, it works in left, right. What's the difference? I go over there, I do it that way. I go over, do it this way. But not everybody's like that, and I appreciate that, and I understand that. But this kid is so technical, and I see in him that he has a great understanding and awareness of blocking that I would be shocked if he can't translate and go over on the left. The guys that have a hard time making that transition that I've seen over the years are guys that, they don't really quite get blocking, you know, and they have to really work hard and really, focus in on one side, and he looks much more natural to me than that. There's no pro day. You'd hold your breath a little bit saying, okay, maybe, you'd say, I'm pretty sure he can play on the left. But I didn't go to his pro day, and I didn't see that he could. But I've seen enough on film that tells me, I think he can make that transition.
All right, Coach. So who are your next 2? You said you had 6 first-round grades. Who do you have behind those 4?
Okay, I got 2 more. All right, there's a left tackle from Houston. He's going to go at the end of the first round. I think he could start, certainly. He's an excellent pass blocker. He had the highest pass blocking grade in the country last year. He is I call him quiet feet, loud hands. That's the nickname I gave him when I was with Sirius Radio doing the Senior Bowl audiocast, I guess you call him. So Josh Jones played at Houston. He's a terrific left tackle pass blocker, can change direction, knows how to use his hands. He's been really well coached. He's ready to play. He's a plug-and-play player. He doesn't quite have his size looks good, but he doesn't really have huge size that really put him up with those other guys. But I think he's going to be a good player. He's a starting tackle, Josh Jones. The last one would be Austin Jackson. Austin Jackson's from USC. I think he'll go at the end of the first round. I think there might be one other guy, but I think Austin Jackson will go at the end of the first round. He's very athletic. He's quick. He's too quick. He doesn't really know how to slow down and speed up. He just sets out there as fast as he can, and he gets beat on double moves. He's got some learning to do. He is not a plug-and-play first-year starting left tackle in the National Football League. If he is, he's going to have some problems. He's going to have to learn how to govern his speed and change direction and learn all the moves and the timing and the rhythm of the rushers. And right now he looks like a very good athlete who doesn't really know how to pass block at an elite level right now. That's Austin Jackson, USC. He could be there in the second round,
But
another
now
guy go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say, in terms of Josh Jones, you do feel like he's a guy who could start if someone takes him in the first round, that he'd be ready, but not the case with Jackson?
Correct, yeah.
Jackson, just wanted to clear that up.
Jackson has really high ceiling. He's a terrific athlete. He has a chance to be really good, but he's got to learn how to do it, and he's got to learn in a hurry. So he'll go, and he should go to a team ideally where he doesn't have to play right away as a rookie. But then he'll, hopefully he can figure it out and have a good long career and be a good player. Wilson from Georgia might be there, the right tackle. The other tackle at Georgia, big, massive, powerful right tackle. He could be there in the second round. The last two that I think have a chance to play early would be Lucas Yang from TCU, although he had a hip and he didn't do anything at the combine. He had really no pro day and no workouts, and he was I've worked with him too. I need to disclose that. And over time, for 2 years in a row in the conference at TCU, he was the highest graded pass blocker there. So he's a very productive player. He's a vertical setter, not really an NFL kick slide setter. But there's him, and then there's Matt Pert from Connecticut, who might take a little time. But those are your options maybe in the second round. If you got to have a tackle, the second round is a risk.
Now, one guy I wanted to ask you about, because he really blew people away at the Combine. He got overshadowed by Tristan Wirf's performance. But Ezra Cleveland of Boise, is he a guy that if you take him, I mean, I assume so because you're kind of into these guys now who aren't day one starters. Is he a guy who needs a year to sit and learn before he's ready to step in? Because I've seen people who say that, they look at the Combine he had, and I think a lot of fans are holding out hope that they can grab a tackle in round two, which, as you said, and I tend to agree, barring something shocking, I don't see a day one starter being available at 48 at tackle. But Ezra Cleveland, how close is he, when you see him, is he to being a starting caliber player?
I think he's got good athletic traits. I think he did a nice job at the Combine. I was disappointed watching his film. He's kind of head-heavy, meaning he's a lunger a bit. He doesn't really know how to use his hands the way an NFL player does. He gets too much on his toes and overextends some. He doesn't really play with the balance that an NFL player does. So I think he's supposed to be a good guy and a hardworking guy, and he did good at the Combine, but he's got a year to learn, in my mind. If he goes in there, if he starts as a rookie, whoever coached him really should get Coach of the Year award. If he has a good season, because he has some technical work he has to do. I think if he gets it, I think he's going to be fine. Yeah.
Okay, thanks for that. That wraps up the tackles. So moving inside now, let's take a look at your guards. There's a couple guys I had some specific questions about, but if you just want to do the same thing and kind of run through your top 3 or 4 guys and what it is you like about them.
Yeah, I think it's an excellent year for guards. In fact, I got a whole bunch of guys that I think are like second-round picks, third-round picks. And what's funny, when Jim Miller and Pat Kerwin, when they were on Series 3 in their mock draft the other day, they did it through the first 2 rounds. And what was funny is they didn't pick a guard or a center in the second round. And why is that? Well, because it's loaded there. You can get in the third round one hell of a guard or a center, in my mind. Guys who typically, because of the depth of the draft, would typically go sooner than that. Anyways, the guy I like best, I think there's, what's funny is I called around, I was gathering names at first, so I knew who to study, and I'm calling around different line coaches I knew. And they gave me, I said, okay, give me all your top 3 round guards, right? And I got 11 names from different guys. And I was like, when I got done, I was like, this is crazy. There's never 11 guards in the first 3 rounds.
Right.
And, but I got 11 names. So it depends how you like them. So I can't guarantee the way they're going to go off. But if I were picking them, I'd pick them this way. The first one I like is Jonah Jackson from Ohio State. He's a transfer from, what do they call them? They're in the portal. He's a portal transfer from Rutgers. He didn't win hardly any games at Rutgers, and then he goes to Ohio State. And Greg Studwara, the line coach at Ohio State, told me that he came from a 1-11 team, but he brought a championship attitude. He said that he was the team leader, on the line and the team. And so I like that. He has great leadership. But not only that, he's tough. He's got strong hands. He knows how to block. He's a nasty finisher. he covers a lot of grass with confidence. He plays with thud. I don't know. I really like the player, Jonah Jackson from Ohio State. The next guy, and we're talking about groupings of guys here, the next guy I have is Shane Lemieux from Oregon, who originally they were saying, was probably a first-round pick if you followed this early. I think he's probably going to go in the second. He may go in the third. He fell down a little bit. Didn't have a great combine, because he's got good size, but he's straight line. He's a little slow in the agilities. He didn't bench, so what is he, weak? No one knows. It questions his explosiveness, but on film, he's a big man with thud. He plays tough and productive. I'd say makes solid contact. He has good strike. He can roll his hips, and he's a productive player, and I like him. I think he's, a second or a third round pick. The next guy in that same group of guys is Damian Lewis from LSU. At the combine, he jumped really good. He jumped 30 inches and he got 33-inch arms. He weighs 332 pounds. He's got a strong punch. He's got initial quickness with quick twitch. I like how he pass blocks where he can arch his back. He's just adequate in space. He's more of a box player. But he's a good player. I give him a second-round grade, Damian Lewis from LSU. And the last guy I gave with a second-round grade was Ben Bredeson from Michigan. He's a thick guy. Heck, he looks 30 years old right now. He looks mature. He's got I'm 60 and he shaves more than I do. And he's got a big, strong hands, solid, plays nasty. He's aggressive. Sometimes he's too aggressive. Sometimes he lunges. He passes where he needs to learn how to anchor a little bit better and not be quite as aggressive. But he's a great finisher. And shoot, he was a two-time captain in Michigan, which has never happened before. And I like everything about him. All four of those guys, in my mind, the second-round guys, Jackson, Ohio State, Lemieux, Oregon, Lewis, LSU, Bredeson from Michigan, put him in their day one starter. And,
Bredeson was a guy that I liked a lot early on, talked about him a little bit. And the thing that really impressed me was his level of play and his age. He's only 21 years old. He's still a young guy. And as you said, two-time captain at Michigan at that age, so shows, he's got to have a great deal of maturity in that locker room that Jim Harbaugh and that his teammates liked.
Yeah, I think he's a rare kid that way. Yeah.
And
then
so
I got four guys also in the third round. I'll just talk about them briefly. Tremaine Anker from Clemson. I've worked with him. He played right tackle. He was the best pass blocker in the ACC last year, grade-wise. In fact, it was kind of cool of the Big Five conferences in the country. Three of the guys I trained that were the best pass blockers in each of their conferences this year. But so I worked with him, so I know he can pass block. He knows how to play. He's a big, strong guy. There's a kid, Solomon Kinley at Georgia, who they were saying was a first-round pick at one point. He's a big, strong, powerful guy who, a little bit slow, but I've worked with him too. I like him. He's strong. He's powerful. I think he goes in the second or third round. Jack Driscoll from Auburn, I've worked with him too. He goes in the same area. He's a pretty good athlete. He transferred from UMass as a fifth-year player. And then there's John Simpson at Clemson. I know him as well. And John is a big, strong guy who was a wrestler. So there it is. I think there's literally 8 guys you can get in the second or third round as guards that will be, if not day one starter, awfully early in their career starting and playing at an upper level in my position, or in my opinion, of starters in the National Football League.
Now that is a big number, and I see that one guy that you've got as your fourth round prospects was one of the main guys I wanted to ask you about, because I think he was probably my favorite prospect early, and I knew he'd had some injury history. I didn't realize quite how extensive it was, but Nuthani Muti from Fresno. The guy is just on film, the way he ragdolls, the man lined up across from him, just so impressive. I really thought he would be like a second, third rounder. And then you look at the injury history and the amount of time he missed. There are people, some of the more respected analysts out there who say that he is going to have a free fall because of his injuries. Do you have him as a fourth because of the injuries, or do you just view him as a fourth-round talent?
Here's what I have on Muti, and it's unfortunate because, like you, the early projections, I saw all the draft nicks having him as a first-round pick. He was projected to be the first inside player drafted of all the guards and centers, right? Well, here's what I'm watching on film. I see real aggressiveness. But the problem is I see lots of holding penalties. I see lots of pancakes where I'm watching the play, and, he kills a guy, but I'm saying, no, in the National Football League, that's holding. That don't count. You can't do that. And so I can't give a guy positive grades for blocks that are illegal, right? And it's over and over and over again. In the Minnesota game, I counted 7 blocks that would be called holding in the National Football League. So, I think there's a lot of guys, he looks tough. I love his toughness. Look at the way he finishes. And I say, no, that's holding. You can't freaking grab a guy and throw a guy on the ground like that.
Interesting.
So you got to throw those plays out, in my mind. All right? And then if you throw those plays out and you look at all the other plays, he looks like a decent guy. But you got the injury questions. You got 3 years in a row where he had injury problems. He got an Achilles, he's got a shoulder, he's got a hip, and so in my mind, I have him off the board. And I do this as if I was still coaching today. Where would I have these guys? And in this guy, I would unfortunately have off the board because I don't know. There's no medical recheck. Is his hip still bothering him? I didn't go work him out. What are the issues? I don't know if he's healthy. So I think, unfortunately, because of the whole situation with the virus, he is going to free fall because there's two questions on the guy.
And then behind him, who do we have at guard? You have anyone else as a sort of fifth rounder?
Yeah, the kid from Kansas. Some people like him better. I'm going to try to say his name, Hazim Adibiji. All right, and he's an athletic guy who, in time, has a chance to be a starter. He's got a lot of physical skills, but he's technique is way off at this time. And then Logan Stenberg, is highly rated, a guard from Kentucky, who's really tough. He and Muti are the two toughest players at their position in the draft. And Stenberg, unfortunately, is kind of a mauler. You're either going to love him or not love him. He's not really a space player, not really an athlete player, but he's kind of a inside plugger, smasher type of guy.
All right, and moving on to the centers, we talked about Muti and the injuries there. One guy that I was wanting to talk about was Tyler Biadasz, because he's another guy that early on in the process he was kind of viewed as the top center in the country, potential first rounder. Had a shoulder injury, I believe. Still played, didn't play quite as well. He's another guy that we've seen go from round 1 to kind of round 3, 4, 5, depending on who you're listening to. But that was a number that really surprised me. You're feeling the centers and Biadasz.
Yeah, you still with me there?
I'm here.
Hello?
Hello?
You're starting to break up a little bit. You there? I can.
Sorry about that. I'm here.
I'm going to keep talking, all right? Okay, so, Tyler, when I saw him, same with you, I kept seeing first round, top center, all that, and then I go to put the film on, and I go, my God, the guy doesn't unlock his hips. He doesn't snap on anyone. What am I missing on this guy? This guy's not a first-round pick. And then I find out that he was hurt this year and that he actually had his shoulder injected 5 times this year to play. And he also has some hip injuries, which hopefully those are okay. Because I went back and I watched his tape from 2018, the year before. And yeah, I can see why they had him as a first-round pick, because he plays good. He does snap his hips. He does drive the guy. So, but his senior film does not look that way. So I think what's actually going to happen with the guy, he is the other guy like Muti, who there's no medical recheck. We don't know on the guy. Is he healthy? Can he do it? I think when it's all said and done, it's going to, it's like Wall Street. People buy stocks that they feel confident in. And the confidence level of knowing exactly what he is questionable. So he's going to fall. And somebody, in my mind, in the fourth round is going to get a hell of a player if he's healthy. If he's not healthy, then it's a risk they took. But there was Tyler Biadasz from Wisconsin. Yep, go ahead.
So I was going to say, so if you're sitting in the war room or you're sitting in the draft prep, and your coach asks you, how high of a pick should we use on this guy? How high are you willing to go to get a player of Biadasz?
I'm saying take him for sure. If he's there in the fourth, I'd consider it in the third. To me, there's too many unknowns. You can't. I would have said if I just saw the film from the year before, I would have said in the first round, take him, and wouldn't have batted an eye. But those eyes are batting now.
I know the injury concerns. He's definitely dropped.
Especially the hip injury, because on film I kept rating over and over again. He doesn't unlock his hips. He doesn't know how to use his hips. And then I'm told that, he might have a hip injury. And I go, oh, no. So that is a huge concern, because not only do I see something on film before I was told there was a problem, and then I was told there was a problem, which kind of confirms what I saw.
Right.
Then I got some reservations.
Yeah, and that's the thing with some of these guys, with Muti, Biadasz, all these guys who can't go through these medical rechecks at pro days and individual meetings, it will hurt them. But so if you could, Coach, wrap up your last few centers, and we'll let you go for the night. Thanks so much for your time. Who else you got?
Matt Hennessy, I worked with him. I worked with a lot of these guys. Matt Hennessy, I worked with him. He's the quickest, most athletic of the centers. He can reach. He's from Temple. He has tremendous body control, tremendous coordination. He's just an athlete, and an athlete who plays with strength. And he plays with strength in his athletic approach. Now, I say that, and at the same time, I'm going to say he needs to get stronger. He needs to go in the weight room, needs to gain a little bit of weight, needs to get bigger. But I think he's a solid pick. He's going to be a long-term starting center and a really good athlete at that. He reminds me very much of the center from Kels from the Eagles. In fact, I could see them taking him because they're going to need a guy. But
Travis Kelce.
Yeah. And then Lloyd Cushenberry from LSU. Big long arms, strong hands. He's great as a middle pass protector, strong and stout. And I like him. He pops out protection some, but NFL teams really don't do that. Sometimes he loses awareness. He needs to improve his peripheral awareness. But I think he's a good player. I think he's probably going to go in the second or third round. That's where he should go. Now, will they go there? I'm not sure because of the like I said, the quality of the position in those rounds. And the last guy I think in there is Cesar Ruiz. Many people have him as the first center to go. I can see that. He did a nice job at the combine. He did all the drills. There's no uncertainty on this guy because you know what he is. They say he's a great leader at Michigan and tougher than hell and plays good. He needs to work on his technique and balance and some of those things better. I see him being a little bit away in terms of being a day one starter, but if he gets that, I think he can be a good player. So I like all four of those guys. Second, third round picks, and one or two of them are going to slide to the fourth, the centers.
All right. Well, listen, Coach, thank you so much for your time. Much appreciated. Thank you for all the insight. We wanted to have you on here because we wanted to get a guy who's been there, who's been in the war rooms, who's coached these guys in the trenches, who's done the interviews, and who has watched these guys up close at the Senior Bowl. You've worked with a lot of them, just to kind of get a feel from someone who's been there and done it at the level you have. So thanks a lot for joining us, and thanks for all the insight tonight. All right, take care, Coach. All right, so there you have it. Former Bengals offensive line coach Paul Alexander. As I said at the top, this is a guy who was it 2015, I think it was, Sports Illustrated Dream Team offensive line coach. And he had some interesting things to say. The least of which was not the funny that all I anticipated talking about was the draft picks. And we sort of inadvertently venture into the moves the Jets made, and he just kind of says, "Hold your breath," and why did they sign a bunch of backups? kind of took the air out of this room. Even having said myself that I've got my concerns about George Fant. Obviously, not a huge fan in Paul Alexander, but I think the thing with Fant and where you have to remain optimistic is that he appeared to play better near the second half of last season. And you hope that as a guy who didn't play a lot of football up until a few years ago, that he kind of is starting to turn the corner and is a better player than a guy who could, the guy who couldn't win a starting job with the Seahawks, where they have been so bad for so long in protecting their quarterback. But getting back to that, what I was saying earlier in the show with I thought it was funny. As I said, I kind of sent out a ball-busting tweet. I named 5, 6, 7 receivers who were sort of undrafted, 5th-round picks, 2nd-round picks, 3rd-round picks, and said, these guys are proof that you have to get a receiver in round 1. Very clearly, to me anyway, being sarcastic. And the number of people who were who thought I was serious. Oh, dude, you don't know what you're talking about. Contradicting yourself. Look at this. None of these guys are taking the 1st round, you idiot. This guy was taken. Thielen was undrafted. No, I think I just happened to randomly pick 6 dudes that were not picked in the round I said they were picked in. So anyway, yeah, that kind of reinforces it. Go back and listen to that interview with Paul Alexander. And actually, having said the comments about the Jets jumped out at me, the thing that was most telling was when he talked about whether or not the Jets would be able to get a tackle in the 2nd round. And he probably thought they were picking in the early 40s. The Jets ended up at 48. You would think, okay, 11 picks, or you're picking 11 in round 1. You must be picking it, 42, 43 in round 2. And when I said 48, he's kind of said, oh, well, then you're not getting one. That's it. At first he was optimistic. Yeah, some of these guys might be available in round 2. You'd be able to get them. Where you guys picking 11? And I say, yeah, we're picking 11 and then 48 in round 2. Oh, okay, then you're not getting one. And that's my feeling. That's why I asked about Ezra Cleveland. That's why I wanted to know about these guys that, people are telling me on Twitter and on Facebook. And you see people saying it in the forums on JetNation.com, which if you are not signed up as a member, JetNation.com, checking out the forums, getting all the arguments, the debates, the conversations. Some of them are nice, cordial conversations. Knowledgeable, passionate, sometimes insane Jets fans. Check out the forums on JetNation.com. But you go in there and everybody's, grab a tackle in the 2nd round. Grab Ezra Cleveland. It doesn't have to be one of these top 4 guys. It doesn't have to be a top 5 guy. I beg to differ. I don't, like I said on the call, I was being generous saying George Fant's a hold the fort guy. Yeah, there's some positives there, but there's a whole lot of negative as well. And my concern is if Fant isn't any good, are you then handing it over to a guy who needs a year or 2 before he's ready? I'm sticking by it, man. Tackle in round 1. Right, it's got to be. Even if it's Josh, and I understand people are saying Josh Jones is a late 1st round guy. Some people say I think Manish Maida had the Jets trading down and taking him at 15. I say take him at 11. If the other 4 guys are gone, take him. If he's good enough to take in the 1st round, you take him anywhere in the 1st round. Yes, in a perfect world, you trade back, you add picks, and you get him at 18 or 20 or whatever. But if you're Joe Douglas and you're sitting there at 11 and the top 4 tackles are gone, and some team is calling you saying, Joe, we'll give you a 4 if you move down 7 spots. I'm sorry, that's not enough. If you want to offer me more, if you want to offer me fair value, I would love to move down and take Josh Jones at 15, 16, 17, 18. However, you're not compensating me adequately. I'm going to take Josh Jones to be my starting left tackle at number 11. I would do that, even if he is projected as a middle/late round guy. Because if I don't, and I take a receiver, I take Judy, Lamb, Ruggs, whoever, and then I think I'll grab a tackle in round 2. And then you get all the way to pick number 48, and you're staring at a bunch of guys who are projects, guys who you don't think will be ready. Now you got a guy who's not ready and a guy who couldn't win a starting job in Seattle. I mean, isn't the whole idea here, isn't the whole damn thing supposed to be about building around Sam Darnold? And I've said it before, so I'm sorry if I sound like a broken record. But it's one of those things I just can't get my head around it. I can't understand how you can explain to somebody, and we just heard it, you're not getting a tackle in round 2. You're not getting a day 1 starter in round 2. But yet, Eric DeCosta, Ravens GM, worked under Ozzie Newsome for 1,000 years. He probably knows a thing or two about putting a team together. He said yesterday, this receiver class is so deep, we feel like we can get an impact guy, an immediate impact guy, in round 5. So here's my thing, taking it a step further. This is my new thought process on the Jets. And maybe I'm crazy, but here's what I would like to see Joe Douglas do. Because we know for years, whether it's Mike McCagnon, whether it's John Idzik, the GMs here have failed time and again to invest early picks in the premier positions. We're not seeing the left tackles. We're not seeing the edge rushers. We're not seeing the corners. We're not seeing the picks being invested in these guys early on. We've seen the safeties and the D linemen and the D linemen and the D linemen and the D linemen and the middle linebackers. How about this year, you look at your draft board and along the lines of Eric DeCosta, you say, you know what? We can get a starting receiver in the 4th round. Or we've got 2/3 this year. We can get a starting receiver in the 3rd round with our let's say we earmark that 2nd round pick for the best receiver on the board with 3rd round pick number 2. With our 4th rounder, we're taking the best receiver on the board again. With the 6th rounder, maybe even 5th, but at least 6th, one of those 6th rounders, we're taking the best receiver on the board. And you're adding them to Perryman, to Crowder, to Herndon, to Griffin, to Bell if Adam Gase learns to line him up as a receiver from time to time. You got some targets now. I tweeted out the other day, Brian Edwards, South Carolina. That's the guy I like. Doesn't have to be him. Pick your favorite guy. Because I don't want it to be about the player. I don't want people to say, oh, I can't believe you want to take that dude with that 2nd, 3rd round pick. I wouldn't take that guy because blah, 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 blah. Think of your favorite guy. Who's your favorite receiver who might be available with that pick? Not the 1st, 3rd round, or the 2nd, 3rd round pick, and the 4th round pick. Who are your 2 favorite guys? Because chances are, we know from what DeCosta said, there are going to be starting caliber players on the board in those rounds. So you earmark those 2 picks. That 3A, that's going to a receiver. That 4th rounder, that's going to a receiver. That 1st rounder, that's an offensive tackle. Best tackle on the board, we're taking him. If it's Josh Jones, you take him. You hope it's a better guy, a guy you have rated higher. But Josh Jones is still a 1st round guy, 10-year starter is what you anticipate when you take a 1st rounder. So your 1 is your starting left tackle. Your 2nd, 3rd rounder, that's a receiver. Your 4th rounder, that's a receiver. That means round 2, take the best edge guy. Or line it up. Look at your edges, look at your corners. The positions that the Jets keep neglecting and fans keep bitching about it, rightfully so. And you say, we're taking the best of whichever one is there. Okay, A.J. Terrell is there. We like him best. out of him and the other corners and the edge guys. We're taking A.J. Terrell round 2. Now you have a starting left tackle and a starting corner in Terrell. Let him battle. Listen, I know they got Desir. Desir's a question mark. Bless Austin played great for 6 games. He's a question mark. They have no definite answer at corner. And yes, he's a draft pick. It's a crapshoot. I get that. But you know what I'm saying. So you got your starting left tackle in round 1. You got a starting caliber corner in round 2. Round 3, look at the edges. Is Okwara there? Do you like him? Grab Okwara with your 3rd round pick, or the best edge guy on the board, whoever that might be. Only caveat to that, I would say, and I've said before, I don't love this draft class on the edges. So if it's between Okwara and maybe a Weaver, whoever, name 3, 4, 5 guys you like in that spot. But maybe, as we just heard from Paul Alexander, maybe one of these top-notch, maybe one of these guards who maybe it's a 2nd-round talent and they fall to round 3, take the guard. Not a premier position, but it's a need. It's good value if it's one of these guys that fall. And then you use that 5th rounder and one of your 6s on the Travis Gibson out of Tulsa, edge guy. I like him. Good value. I think he's as good as some of the guys who are going to go rounds before him. And then with your last pick, take another project edge guy. Because when you're talking 5th, 6th, 7th rounders, listen, I know we all like to sit down before the draft and we do our mock drafts in our own minds. We convince ourselves that every one of these dudes is going to be starting by year 3. No one misses in a mock draft. Everyone can envision the reason why their favorite guy is going to be an eventual starter. That's not reality. Most guys, the deeper you go in the draft, the less likely it is they'll hit. So why the hell not? Grab 2 edge guys. And that you're doing that because you're passing on the edge in round 3 for an interior lineman. You follow that road, you follow that plan, and you're going to come away with a starting left tackle, starting corner, starting guard or edge, and then at least one starting receiver, that 4th rounder. Again, Brian Edwards, that's my guy. But whatever. There are other guys too. There's a million receivers in this class. That's 4 starters. If you do it the other way, and you say, well, I want to take CeeDee Lamb, Jerry Jeudy, whoever. Let's say you take a receiver at 1. Okay, and listen, I don't dislike these players. As much as I'm saying, take a tackle, take a tackle, take a tackle. You don't think I'm going to be smiling if Jerry Jeudy is going to be a Jet and Sam Darnold's going to be throwing to him? I'm going to be worried about how they're going to fix the tackle situation, but that's an exciting prospect. Don't get me wrong. But if we do it that way, say you take Jeudy in the 1st round, you still need a tackle. 2nd round, do you take a tackle then? Because if you do, you're getting a guy who's probably not going to start for a year or 2. So you're not getting a year 1 starter. And then do you invest another pick in a receiver that early if you took one at 1? I mean, again, you can still take them late. But by going receiver first, you're leaving yourself without a tackle. And I don't like that. I don't like that. Especially when we consider the fact that last year when the O-line was bad, we didn't see Adam Gase move the pocket a whole lot. I mean, if we'd seen Adam Gase do some things last year that make you believe he's got Sam Darnold's health in mind as like a top priority, then I'd be a little bit happier about that. As I've said, line Le'Veon Bell up in the slot, some quick hitters across the middle, a little more play action, more rolling to his right. At least if somebody on that side gets beat, he can see the guy coming. But we didn't see a lot of that from Adam Gase. So you're telling me you want to take a receiver and then get a guy who's not ready to start at tackle with the 2nd pick. And this is why, folks. Listen, I could be wrong. None of us have a damn crystal ball. I can say till I'm blue in the face that I'm 100% confident, and I may, at the end of the day, be wrong, and Joe Douglas might absolutely shock me. But Joe Douglas is an O-line guy. Joe Douglas has said Sam Darnold's safety is his priority. I don't see any way this team does not go offensive tackle at 11 unless they plan on trading back into round 1, or at least moving up into the top of round 2 to maybe to see if Josh Jones falls that far, which I don't know that he will. Or maybe even if we say Austin Jackson. Listen, we have a guy like Paul Alexander on because the guy knows a million times more about the NFL and the offensive line than me or any other guest I could get. You're not going to find, there's not a lot of guys with 30 years experience floating around, just waiting to pop onto a show. You can get writers, you can get bloggers, you might get a former player. But for a coach who's done it that long, that being said, maybe he's wrong. And I'm not saying that in a way like maybe I know better than him. But listen, coaches are wrong. GMs are wrong. It happens. Maybe a team takes Austin Jackson and, by week 4, he's ready to start and he's looking great. Maybe. But it's less likely. So if you want to leave Sam Darnold out there with George Fant and a project tackle, then that's up, listen, I disagree. I would not do that. That is not in Sam Darnold's best interest. But what's in your best interest, if you have a business you're managing, is to use Miles Social. That's right, you business managers. If you need somebody to run all of your social media platforms for you, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, whatever it may be, for help with managing all your online needs for your business, contact milesocial.com. That's MILE Social, milesocial.com for all of your social media platform business needs. Check them out, milesocial.com. So that's where I'm at, folks. I pitched it the other day, kind of just was thinking out loud. And because I keep saying that they have to, the Jets, they have to take advantage of this deep draft class. You need receivers, take advantage of it. Take advantage of it. And what I meant at the time was grab a receiver at 48, maybe grab another one in round 3, and then another one in round 5. And then I thought to myself, well, what if you push it back a round? Or instead of that first third rounder, what if that second third rounder? Then what do you do with the picks between 1 and 3A? And that's when I got to thinking about how myself, and probably many of you, have justifiably, understandably spent an awful lot of time bitching about the general managers on this team who haven't used enough premium picks on premium positions. And I thought, well, hell, if you can get that starting receiver at 4, get a starting receiver at 3, then address those premium positions. Edge, like I said, edge is the caveat because it's a weak edge class. So if you say, look, we would rather take a day 1 starting guard over some of these day 1 starting edge guys because, listen, these guys would be starting day 1 on the Jets because the Jets' edges aren't very good. I could see some of these guys getting drafted and not start, being sort of situational players. You come out of this draft with a starting left tackle, starting corner, starting guard, and a starting receiver, with another receiver or 2 behind that and a 1 or 2 edge projects. And I fully expect, we can't sit here and talk about extra picks and grab a guy here and there with picks you don't have, but I fully expect Joe Douglas to move down at least one time in this draft to add a couple more picks. It's got to happen. He's got too many holes on this roster to not do that. So it's under 2 weeks away now. Very exciting times for the Jets and their fans. Because we've said it before, and it's in hearing Paul Alexander talk about the depth at guard in this class, the fact that you can get a tackle early, and the depth at receiver in this class. When was the last time? There has probably not been a time in my life as a Jets fan. Well, I know there hasn't because now they have the quarterback. But I was going to say, I can't remember a time when things fell right for the Jets in that they have a quarterback and their biggest areas of need are 2 of the deepest areas in the class. They can use tackles, they can use guards, they can use receivers. Tackles not as deep, but because of where they're positioned, they can get one. because there's so many receivers, they're going to push other quality groups down, and that's why we're going to see some quality guards fall lower than they normally would. The Jets need guards. And as we said, receivers. Teams are going to get starting wide receivers in round 3, round 4, round 5, and maybe round 6. Now, I know that happens, but it's going to happen more out of this year's class than probably any class we've ever seen. So prospects are exciting. Times are exciting. Draft is a couple weeks away. The world absolutely sucks right now. This virus is a friggin' disaster. I would be shocked and amazed if everyone listening to this show does not know someone who has it or who is at least showing symptoms of it. I mean, I know for me personally, we got a neighbor who's got it. We got a neighbor whose mother and brother have it. My sister has friends who have lost their lives to it, all in a matter of weeks. It's absolutely nuts. So I hope this was a nice little distraction for you to get your mind off of the world right now, because it's an absolute nightmare. Best wishes to all of you guys. If you can, stay in your damn house. I haven't been out of my house in a month, other than to take the trash out and to drive up and get tested for the damn thing. So if you don't have a reason to leave your house, stay in your damn house. I understand I'm broadcasting from the UK, where the restrictions are much tighter than they are in the U.S., but believe you me, tighter restrictions are coming if people don't follow the ones that are in place now. So all the best to you guys. Wish everyone, hope everyone gets through this thing okay. And at least the draft is something to look forward to. And whether or not there will be football in 2020, maybe that'll be a topic next week. But thank you so much for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed Coach Paul Alexander's takes on the current crop of O-linemen. And until next week, have a good one, Jets fans.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at JetNation Radio. Glenn is at AceFan23 and Alex is at NYJetsLife24.
Until next time,
go Jets!